I'd like to call the meeting to order and thank you all for attending. Please call the roll call.
Gabriel,
Here.
Heffel.
Here.
Kelso.
Here.
Bukai.
Here.
Wally. Here. Smith.
Here.
Marshfield.
Here.
Vernal. Driscoll.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
Faulkner.
Here.
Hinckley.
Here.
Wilson. Frazier.
Here.
Layton.
Here.
Setta.
Here.
Malay.
Here. Please join us in the invocation by Reverend Paul Keir and pledge the flag Supervisor Haffel.
Father, thank you for the promise of your presence with us. Thank you for these friends who give their time, their money, their personal time with their families up to serve us. Father, help us to do your will. Give them guidance. Your word says that if we lack wisdom, to ask you, and you give it freely without holding a grudge. Lord, give that kind of wisdom in these trying times of finance and other things going on in our county. We ask, God, that you would give divine wisdom, understanding. Let the meeting go smoothly today and every Wednesday, Lord. Just bless this body and those in attendance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda is approval of our last meeting minutes. Does the board have any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, they'll stand as submitted. Communications,
All communications received have been referred to their respective committees for review.
okay, we have a few privilege of the floors this afternoon. First, I'd like to grant privilege to Supervisor Hinckley.
I'd like to introduce Shelley Johnson for privilege of the floor.
Good afternoon, everybody. This afternoon, I'd like to introduce all of you to the Executive Director of Toronto Cooperative Extension, Emily Roach. She has asked for just a few minutes of your time this afternoon to invite you to a special place.
Thank you. So I think I've met most of you. I'm Emily Roach, Toronto Cooperative Extension Executive Director. I've been there for about 6 months now. And we wanted to extend to you our annual barbecue that we invite you to at 4-H Camp. It's July 22nd, so it'll be right after your July meeting. We're planning a tour at 3:30. We'll give you a presentation so you can see what we've been up to and what we're planning to do in the future. And then we'll have dinner around 5:30. So we were hoping that you would be able to attend. So we have these little reminders. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Emily. Okay, I have a presentation that I would like to do. We have a special guest in the audience this afternoon, Paul Rush, the DEP Deputy Commissioner. Good afternoon. It is with great pleasure and a bit of sadness that I welcome Paul Rush, Deputy Commissioner of Payton. Paul will be retiring next week, ending a more than 30-year relationship with Delaware County. Paul, I think I met you close to 30 years ago when I was working for Senator Bonson. Boy, I started young, didn't I?
Yeah.
I have had the pleasure of getting to know Paul over the past several years, and during my tenure as chairman of this board, I found Paul to be a true partner, seeking the balance between the memorandum of agreement promised and as an advocate for what it stands for. He has been here from the beginning of the FAD discussions in the early 1990s and has played a key role in the evolution of our complicated relationship with the city. Paul, you have always approached our concerns with true interest, and I believe you've sought solutions that made sense for both the city water supply and our communities. I have never felt as though you were simply giving us lip service, but you genuinely took to heart our issues and attempted to make things fair for all of us. We have certainly had to deal with some difficult situations, changing political climates and new regulatory standards, but you faced each of these with professionalism, integrity, and understanding. And for that, we are very grateful. As we all know, many faces are changing both locally and at the city. Over the next couple of years, we will be negotiating a new FAD. For Delaware County, the uncertainty of a new mayor, a new DEP commissioner, and the ever-changing regulations are a true concern. I believe the work that was done last fall through the intergovernment agreement that you helped shape will guide us through these changing times and hopefully prepare us for what really matters in the next FAD. I cannot thank you enough for your support during those negotiations, creating something that served all of us in a timely fashion. The IGA was intended to reflect the true needs and issues to be addressed in this new FAD, while also giving us some sense of security as we move through these negotiations with the new faces at the helm. As we have taken the opportunity this afternoon to bid you farewell, I wanted to present you with a small gift from Delaware County. Delaware County, as you know, is a place of tradition. We're proud of our history and of our successes, and no matter what, we're always resilient. Symbolizing each of these traits are the 3 historic covered bridges in Delaware County. They have stood the test of time and serve as centerpieces in our communities, representing both the past and the future. While you have served that important bridge between New York City and Delaware County, and like our covered bridges, your career symbolizes the history of our shared past and represents the future of our shared interests. I'd like you to please accept this collage as a thank you and a gesture of best wishes in your future endeavors. Bye-bye. But thank you.
Madam Chairman, Tina, thank you very much. And thank you to each member of the Board of Supervisors here in Delaware County. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to come back to near where I grew up. I grew up in Sullivan County. And it happened in 1989. The Army was cutting people. I went to West Point. They were looking to drop officers because we won the Cold War. So in 1990, I had the opportunity for my next assignment in Fort Polk, Louisiana, or get out early out of my West Point commitment. And I said, well, I'm going to get out early. And he said, well, that's fine, because I wanted to cut the number of people. We need to cut the number of people in the Army anyway. But also in 1989, EPA promulgated the surface water treatment rule that required all water utilities to filter their water. They got it from a surface source. And New York City said, well, we're going to try not to surface, try to get that exemption. So they were looking to staff up in a way they hadn't staffed up in a long time. And I had an opportunity to get hired in Grahamsville, about 20 miles north of where I was. Grew up in Rock Hill. My father taught school in Tri-Valley, and I was really excited about that opportunity. But given the vagaries of this city, I was supposed to start in 1990, but they put a hiring freeze on, so I didn't have a job. I ended up going back to grad school and spent time in Switzerland studying water resources. And then in 1992, I came to work in the city, and I was in the septic system, the new septic system inspection and regulatory program. And having grown up in the Catskills, I was a little south of the watershed. But the anger and the mistrust of the city that existed at that time was something I wasn't ready for. But when I stopped to see a neighbor in Sundown about buying a vehicle, and he told me that he hated the city, you're from the city, I'm gonna go piss in the brook, get off my property. That gave me context of, how people felt. And the city's first attempt at doing things to get this filtration avoidance was putting out a set of regulations that were really, really invasive, to say the least. And as part of that septic system program and inspecting and doing notice of violation, important work, but there was a tension, and there was a reason we were doing it from the city's perspective, but I came from the Catskills. And I think that helped. And then I transitioned into working more in operations out of Delaware District in Graysville, spent a lot of time also up in Downsville. And in 2006, I was offered the job of deputy commissioner, and Emily Lloyd at the time offered me the position, said I had to work out of Westchester County, and I said, I'll decline the position. You guys support whoever you put, but I'm not moving down to Westchester County. I think I can do the job better here in the watershed, and where the city gets its water, where the Catskill supply comes from, I could do a better job out of there. And after a few back and forths, she agreed that I could do the work out of Grahamsville. And that was so important, because what I saw was a need to connect the city in understanding what the concerns are with the communities. And it was clear Delaware County is where half of the supply comes from. It is certainly the largest provider of water to New York City, and that relationship was of primacy. And one of my early meetings with Jim Eisel and Dean Frazier, we sat down and went through issues about land acquisition and its concerns. And I hammered home, there's very limited areas where Delaware County can develop. There were concerns about the city's land acquisition program. But in that first meeting, what was clear to me, there was a need for dialogue and understanding issues on both sides. And I was fortunate to work for commissioners who trusted me to share my ideas and move forward with a dialogue. And although I got a degree focused on water and wastewater, everything we do and bring to the table, whether here in Delaware County, me, my team that's here together, we make decisions based on all our life's experiences. And the life experiences that I had in the Catskills growing up, whether it was squirrel hunting, white rabbit hunting, fishing, all those come to bear on our thinking. And that influences us in ways we don't realize. And it's so important in this relationship between New York City and Delaware County that we keep that communication open, and we approach it a way where there are no winners or losers. We win together, but it requires compromise at times. And Tina, through the conversations and being able to have frank discussions with you, as I have with your predecessor, Jim, and different members of the board at different times on different issues, I think we've improved the relationship, and I think we've moved forward advancing the water supply of the city, but also the interests of the water. To introduce them, that after I leave or retire on June 2nd next Tuesday, you'll still know who you'll still see them here, you'll recognize them. They have not yet selected a successor for me. Dave Warren will likely begin acting as deputy commissioner for a period of time on June 2nd. But let me just go around and introduce my team, or allow them to introduce themselves. Adam?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Adam Reeves. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of Operations for the DP, working directly for Paul for the next few days.
Hi, I'm Jen Rigliano. I'm Executive Director for Strategic Operations and Research based out of the Grahamsville office.
Good afternoon, I'm Shyla Williams. I'm the Assistant Commissioner overseeing the Source Water Protection Program. I work out of the Arkville and Kingston offices.
John Milgram, I'm the Director of External Affairs for the water supply, and a few more days with Paul.
And I just encourage each of you on both sides to keep those communications open, even when there are times of conflict or challenges. But also when things bad happen, flood events and things like that, that communication is so important. So thank you for the covered bridges and the gifts and working together with the entire board here over the years. It's meant a lot to me, and it means a lot to me to get up here to Delhi to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay, next privilege of the floor, Supervisor Hinckley.
I'd like to ask Shelley Johnson again, privilege of the floor.
Hello. So we're going to keep with our theme of watershed. I'd like to introduce Tim Cox. He is the attorney with the Catskill Watershed Corporation. He has a little presentation for you today that may highlight some very interesting things as we go through our next path.
Joe's telling me 2 minutes. I was timing him. Give me a minute to set up. There we go. All right, should be working. So, good afternoon. My name is Tim Cox. I'm the attorney for Catskill Watershed Corporation. Been there for a couple decades, I think. I am 1 year older than Tina in terms of CWC years, so.
We started young.
Yes, we did. We all did. And in February, I'm a graduate of Pace Law School. I went back and gave an 1.5-hour presentation. This is why Joe's looking at me. On the Safe Drinking Water Act and the filtration rules that we all have to live under, including me, to a bunch of environmental law professors from all over the country. I am not doing that presentation today. Not just because I'd have to watch my back for Joe, but because I wouldn't subject you to that. I gave formed this presentation to the Catskill Watershed Corporation Board of Directors. Tina was kind enough to ask that if I couldn't give it here as well. The idea is to give an overview, so when we say bad, what the heck it is we are talking about. Also want to acknowledge Jason Merwin in the back, who is my boss, our executive director at the Catskill Watershed Corporation, and Nick Mamel, who is a current student at Pace Law School. He is our intern for the summer. So the CWC board members who are here, you'll be seeing them next Tuesday. So let's get started. So Safe Drinking Water Act, that was passed in 1974. 1974, the very agile and nimble Jerry Ford signed that into law in August of 74. What that did was set
minimum standards for public water supplies. What pollutants could be in there and what were the maximums that could be in there. But by the mid-1980s, it was clear there were some gaps. It was clear some states were lagging behind, and it was clear that Congress needed to act again, which brings us up to what's really relevant to us, for us, is the 1986 Safe Drinking Water Act amendments. Now, I got two people on here. First, everybody recognizes Ronald Reagan, President Reagan, who signed this into law. But I also put on here Tip O'Neill, who was the Speaker of the House at the time. I didn't put it on here, his picture on here, just because he was Speaker of the House. But I also put him on here because his congressional district included a significant portion of the city of Boston, who still has a fad to this day. So it was important to him, as well as this was being developed, that the larger cities be allowed out of, that they have a pathway to lesser expense. So, in general, what did the Safe Drinking Water Act do? It kicked EPA into gear on regulating contaminants, emphasized prevention instead of just, oh my gosh, we got to keep it below this level. Hey, let's try to make sure it doesn't get in there in the first place. If you've got some higher risk water sources, let's look at filtration. Let's look at disinfection for those. Everybody knows about lead pipes from plumbing. That was the 86 Safe Drinking Water Act amendments. Started that coming in. It also started protecting groundwater drinking sources, all public sources again. And it tightened up monitoring. We had some contaminant regulation mandates. What happens with EPA for the environmental lawyers is they are really slow. It's no offense against EPA, but they always seem to miss the deadlines that Congress sets for. So what Congress did in '86 was said, all right, here are 83 contaminants, here's the deadlines you gotta meet. And there's an ongoing program, you gotta add contaminants on a regular basis. And we're using not just treatment, what's the best available technology there is to get those pollutants out of our drinking water. But for all of us here, the 86 amendments also contain the surface water treatment rule. And the surface water treatment rule said that, and EPA missed this deadline too, because remember Paul said they passed it in '89. They were supposed to pass it sooner. They were required to pass regulations no sooner than '87 on the surface water filtration rules for public drinking water supply. What did that mean? That meant that if your municipality and you're getting your municipal drinking water from a reservoir, from a surface water source, you have to filter it per whatever filtration rules EPA passes. The Safe Drinking Water Act amendments also allowed EPA to exempt some water sources from that rule. Now, this is what Congress thought those water sources would look like. And what the tab here is straight from the 86 amendments to the Safe Drinking Water Act. Uninhabited, undeveloped watersheds, consolidated ownerships, where that municipality has control over the access and the activities in that watershed. That's what Congress was thinking of. Now, this is, Paul will recognize this picture, this is the Croton filtration plant under construction for the East of Hudson watershed. This plant treats 10% of the water supply for the city of New York. The other 90% comes from all of us here in the west of Hudson. This plant costs $3.5 billion to construct in Westchester County. It was, you could say those were Westchester numbers, but those were, was also prevailing wage, and it was a huge, it's a huge number to build. So the larger cities were looking at how can we get around this, and they were waiting for EPA to pass a rule. So EPA in 1989, a little late, finally passed the rule on how you could get around filtration, how you could get around building filtration plants. What's the thing is low fecal coliform. That means that in testing in your reservoirs, 90% of the samples gotta be below those levels that EPA sets within the 6 months. That also means low turbidity. That is the Esopus Creek. That is above the Shandaken Tunnel, well above the Shandaken Tunnel aqueduct. That is Big Indian. That's a picture I took. That's coming out of just where it crosses 28 in Ulster County in Shandaken. Low turbidity. What's turbidity? Turbidity is where you get mud and stuff just hanging out in the water. Why is that important? Because you can't treat the water with stuff hanging out suspended in the water, and other things tend to stick to that mud that's hanging out in the water, like fecal coliform and other things. So EPA set a standard for what a high turbidity event was and said, all right, you can't have no more than 2 in the last 12 months and no more than 5 events in the last 10 years. Now getting down into it a bit more, they also had some disinfection requirements with some redundant components. They had also were looking for a watershed control program that minimized the potential for Giardia cysts, stuff that would make the young and the old really, really sick. You can go back and Google, there's outbreaks back in the 80s in Minnesota. And so they required the municipality to come up with a watershed control program that monitored and controlled activities in the watershed that would negatively impact water quality. And also they were looking at that watershed control program would maximize land ownership and controlling land use. Now this is a bit of homework, Joe, I didn't assign this last time. This number 3, you've got to remember, because it's going to come up in a couple slides when we get back to New York City, because it doesn't so much apply to the other ones I'm going to hit on. So the public water system, and this is straight from the regs that EPA passed, has got to demonstrate through ownership or written agreements with landowners. Can somebody say watershed MOA? Within the watershed, that it can control all human activities that have an adverse impact on the water quality, on the source waters. So, for this presentation, I'm comparing three municipalities that have gotten the filtration avoidance from EPA or from their state. San Francisco, Boston, and New York City. San Francisco, their watershed is in a national park. The Hetch Hetchy Reservoir, 85% of that is snowmelt. There is San Francisco local authority that oversees the treatment and conservation. We'll go into it in a bit more detail. The Quabbin and Wachusett. Why does Massachusetts make stuff so hard to pronounce? 61% of their lands are protected in those watersheds. And the state formed a water authority to oversee that. In our west of Hudson watershed, we have 41.6% of our lands protected. So we go from San Francisco with 100% being in a national park called Yosemite, Boston, 61% of the lands being protected and owned mostly by Boston, and then to New York City where you get 41.6%. That's roughly 20% by the state of New York. That's mostly the Catskill State Park, Forever Wildlands, and the remaining 20% is the New York City lands. Now, comparing those a bit, you can look at the size of the watersheds, and I'm just going west of Hudson here. Boston's has a pretty small watershed. San Francisco has a really large watershed in the Yosemite Park. You can look at the difference in number of users. Boston's got 3. San Francisco's got 2.7. New York City, both in the city and the upstate communities, has got 9 million. Your average daily flow. Boston's got 200,000. San Francisco's got 200 million. San Francisco's got 265 million. That's not a misprint. New York City has got 1 billion gallons. And that number has actually come down over since the 90s over not only a conservation program in New York City, but through low flow fixtures and a very active leak detection program. So active code enforcement, active leak detection, and not as many hydrants open in the summer too, I think, right, Paul?
We still get some, not as many.
We still get some, but not as many. So here's San Francisco, and I'll show you where in Yosemite the next slide this is. So the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir is on the right, and you can see it comes down and flows to the west. The storage reservoirs on the western part where you get into San Francisco proper there and around the bay, those are all filtered. Everything is treated with UV, ultraviolet, which treats the fecal coliform, and also chlorine, which disinfects. This is Yosemite National Park. I haven't been there. Anybody been there? Well, has. George has. A couple of. The Hetch Hetchy Reservoir is up in the western part of the park. The watershed is in the park. Let me show you San Francisco's watershed regulations. Everybody ready to read with me? No swimming or boating in the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir. No swimming within 1 mile on the tributaries of the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir. And you can go fishing, but only from the high water mark on the shoreline with artificial lures. That's it for the watershed regulations in San Francisco. Not that tough to enforce, but probably on a hot summer day, it's hard to enforce this winter. But that's because there's no humans, there's nobody else behind this in the watershed. So let's talk about Boston. Boston by the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority. They were created in '91 because that's when that came out. The watershed lands are owned by a trust, and the water is treated by ozone as well as ultraviolet. You can see the differences in the where the protection is, or where the land holdings are. The Quabbin on the left has quite a bit of land. It's around 84% is protected. The Wachusett's further to the east, that's a lot less protected. I think that's in the 40s or thereabouts. But it's a source water to more than just Boston. And here's the protection figures. The Wachusett's is at 46. So you can see the total protected is at 61.2, but they divide it up between the reservoirs, the Ware River sources, and the other. Then you got some storage emergencies, which would need to be filtered down below. But that's Boston. And let me tell you how Boston works their watershed regulations. So the Massachusetts Watershed Protection Act was passed in 1992. Every tributary in their watershed is mapped. You can go on the website, to the Watershed Protection Act viewer website, zoom in and figure out if there's a tributary there, because if you are within 200 feet of a tributary or 400 feet of a reservoir, that's called the primary protection zone. So you can't do really any alteration there. No draining, no dumping, no discharging. They don't want you mucking around in there. There are exceptions. We'll get to those in the next slide for grandfathering. But no paving, no diversions, nothing new going in within 200 feet of a tributary. But those are all mapped, all statutory, all on the website. From 200 to 400, they call that a secondary zone. Those they've lit up a bit on, hey, no hazardous waste. I wouldn't want those near me anyway. And there's a banning of certain density of development, and you can't really change certain uses of structures. And sometimes if you've got an impervious surface, you've got a house, you can't expand it that much in that secondary zone. But because there are lawyers involved, you have to have exemptions and exceptions. Those are listed down there. I can read those really, really quick, like I'm in a medicine commercial. But those are, if your use was lawfully existing when the act was passed as of July 1, 1992, keep going. If you're making non-substantial reconstructions to existing structures, keep going. If your home's on an existing lot, keep going. And the lot was existing as of July 1, 92, keep going. And you can do one single subdivision. Because Tina asked, I looked this up. The Boston, I don't know about San Francisco, but the Boston FAD is reviewed annually. It is not reviewed as vigorously as the New York City FAD. It is reviewed annually, and there are two different departments of the Massachusetts equivalent of the state DEC, and it is called a sanitary survey. Mostly, they are looking at pollutants in the reservoirs. What you don't see here in either, especially in Boston, you certainly don't see it in San Francisco, is the robust water quality programs and partnership programs in the New York, like we have in the New York City watershed. And speaking of the New York City watershed, so I think everybody's familiar with this map. This one I grabbed yesterday, so you can see the consumption was right at about, I got new glasses and I still got them, 1.01 billion gallons. Reservoir storage is at 98. That's pretty good, right, Paul?
Pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good.
Average this time of year is about 100. The east side of the Hudson River, that is the first water supply New York City built. That is now filtered. That is home to about 200,000, small area of Westchester and Putnam up there. The west of Hudson watershed, we are between 50 and 60,000 there. We are unfiltered. The water is treated with UV and chlorine. Sometimes when there are when they are moving water around within the system, honestly, the west of Hudson water is mixed in with east of Hudson to improve the taste. Did I skip one? Yeah, so the west of Hudson watershed, you've got 41 towns across 5 separate counties. As I said, you've got 200 that coming into this. Remember what I was talking about, protected lands. You've got just over 200,000 acres in the Catskill State Park that were already protected per the state constitution as forever wild. Since 97, New York City has purchased 97,000 acres in fee and another 54,000 acres under conservation easements, that's either WAC or DEP. The main difference, again, between us and the other watersheds is that top line with the other unfiltered watersheds. All of you, all those towns, and all of us who are residents in the watershed. So here's a quick look. This map I grabbed, this was as of 03. You can see the dark green on the eastern side of the map around the blue line. That's the Catskill State Park. Everything in dark green per the state constitution is forever wild. Nothing's happening on those lands no matter what, unless there's a constitutional amendment. Good luck with that one. The orange is the city land, either existing around the reservoirs pre-97 or purchased since 97. And as I said before, it's 41.6% protected. And you can see how it's 20% state and 20% city. So our watershed regs, remember San Francisco, just no swimming, no fishing, no goofing around in the reservoir. Our watershed regs are a whole lot different. They are administered by the state or city Department of Environmental Protection, but, and not in New York City, they are also a state regulation, so they're a regulation of state health department. So New York City has regulations governing roughly septic, stormwater, wastewater. They have approval over design and construction. That process is iterative, especially design. Elsewhere in New York State, if you're doing stormwater, your engineer prepares your stormwater pollution prevention plan, files, goes on DEC's website, files a form, says, I did a plan, it complies with the state permit, I'm done. In the watershed, you have to submit that plan to New York City. There is an individual review, and there are comments back to you. The filtration avoidance, and this is, again, remember what I said on the homework, on the remembering the regulations, that the FAD regs, you got to remember, it requires, in addition to the regs, you got to show EPA or the state that through ownership or written agreements with landowners, that the municipality, in this case the city of New York, can control all human activities which can have an adverse impact on water quality. That brings us to the Catskill Watershed Corporation. That also brings us to the Watershed Agricultural Council. That also brings us to the local soil and water districts, all of which have separate agreements with New York City. Just a quick thing about CWC, we were formed out of the 97 agreement. We're the only not-for-profit I know of made ourselves subject to open meetings law and FOIL. A lot of this is going to be reviewed for you all. 17 of the 19 towns in Delaware County are in the New York City watershed. U-Town supervisors in those 17 towns elect 6 of our 12 local directors. We have 15 directors on our board. You need a majority, you need 10 or more directors to pass anything. The remaining directors, 2 are reported by the governor. One is his rep, one is a rep from the environmental groups, but who were signatories to the watershed agreement, but that environmental rep has to live in a watershed town. And then the last director is appointed by the mayor of the city of New York, who's currently Shiloh Williams, and we've got to get an updated picture because Dave Warren is in here, not Shiloh. CWC programs. These programs not only offset the burden of compliance with the watershed regs, but also contribute to your community and economic vitality, not only of your towns, but all of our member towns. If somebody in your town honestly has a septic failure and they're in the watershed, just tell them to call us. That's the only thing you remember from today. Just remember that. Tell them to call us. 845-586-1400. Tell them to call us. Pump out your septic system every 3 to 5 years. We have flood mitigation programs. We have economic development loans, which not only are for in the watershed, but in watershed towns, even for businesses outside the watershed. So we've done loans to businesses in downtown Sydney. Challenges to filtration avoidance. What can get you, looking ahead and what can cause problems. PFAS, those forever chemicals. Everybody remembers those no-stick pans? That stuff, when heated up, sticks to food and comes off, and then gets in the wastewater stream, and it never decomposes. There's also new federal standards could be coming out on those. There's also other watershed denizens, like those two guys, those two fawns I saw on the Shokan Reservoir a couple years ago when I was riding my bike one morning. Frankly, they don't use compliant septic systems. And it rains near the reservoirs, and it's not flat near the reservoirs. So you can imagine where everything goes. There's also aging infrastructure. Those on the CWC board remember just before COVID times when Dave Ward arranged for us the field trip down to the bypass tunnel underneath the Hudson River because the aqueduct was leaking quite a bit. And another way to reduce water usage in the city is stopping the leaks in the conveyances of the water. And then, of course, Portland, who had a fan, lost their fan. Why did they lose their fan? Number one, that P word there in the headline, that was from bears. It's not from people. But there were one happening in their watershed, and that was in a national park. So that's what I've got. Happy to take any questions. Thank you for your patience. Joe, I know that was more than 2 minutes, but I talk as fast as I can.
Joe.
Okay, Joe says I'm good.
I do have a question.
Okay.
How long has the Croton been filtered? From the beginning?
No, it was required to be filtered from the beginning. That plant was completed in 2000, what, Paul?
2015.
2015. It takes a long time to design. It takes longer to bid and build. Thank you, Paul, for being available to answer.
So I have one comment to add on to this, is the original system, the Croton system and the Catskill system was planned to be filtered. And the reason that we were able to have an unfiltered system was because of Dr. Leal, who was born in Andes, who was the father of chlorination of water. He first chlorinated supplies in Jersey City in 1907. And Dr. Leal's discovery that chlorine was an effective disinfectant was huge and perhaps the biggest step in terms of protecting public health and reducing disease around the world. And that allowed the city to continue to have an unfiltered system because chlorination was so effective. And he has his roots right here in Andes. So Delaware County is very important in the history of the water supply of the city of New York and all together.
If they had to filter the water west of the Hudson, how much would that cost?
It would cost a lot of money. Listen, you heard the numbers on Croton altogether. It was about $3.5 billion with design costs by the time we got it up and running, capitalized. Operating costs are also big. I mean, we're doing replacement of granulated activated carbon at this minute down at the plant. Croton is out of service, and that has a capacity of 290 MGD. Building a filtration plant, we would have to get it sized up, perhaps 1.7 billion gallons a day, because we don't have storage downstream. So you can do math to extract what it could cost. We're very careful. We're careful on making comments on that. And we have a study going on right now that one of the products will be a cost estimate. And that study is going to be done on 2029. And the plant was originally, I mean, there's a decision whether to put the filtration plant in the Bronx or in Westchester in the Bronx. And one of the big plans in the Bronx is the city doesn't have to pay taxes on the plant if it's in the city. Outside, taxes would have been a big expense as part of that.
And that's conceptual design, correct?
Was that conceptual?
That's conceptual design.
Well, conceptual design, the CAT-DEL system, but the
Yeah.
Croton plant was built in the Bronx.
Okay, thank you.
One of the factors was taxes. And one of the biggest drivers of our needs, so the city uses about 1 billion gallons a day, but if we had to filter, we have to have a much higher capacity. And all our infrastructure was designed around an expectation that the city's demand in the year 2000 would be 2 billion gallons a day. And we were on a straight line going towards 2 billion gallons a day up until 1977. In 1977, we began taking steps to reduce demand because it was a concern. We were always in drought. And also we had regulatory issues on the wastewater side that required us to do conservation. After 1977, the total demand on the system then was 1.6 billion gallons a day. Today, it's 1 billion gallons a day in the city. At the outside communities, it's 1.1. So we're using 0.5 billion gallons a day less than we did back then with more than 1 million more people on the system. And that's had consequences to the reservoirs, and it's allowed for us to release more water downstream to help out with the fisheries on the west branch, the east branch on the main stem of the Delta. It's had a lot of consequences, and the changing of the management of the system to reflect that. We've tried to do that in ways where we can provide benefits to the environments and the communities downstream, which is really important that we did adaptive management. Anyway, I'm talking too long.
And John, I will say, the number, not speaking for Paul or the city, the number, I heard ages years and years ago was north of 10 bill. And it would cost hundreds of millions a year to operate. And that's just me speaking.
And the biggest demand on peak hour, peak day in the summer still remains fire hydrants. They drive up our peak hourly demand, and it's down considerably from where it was, but still, on really hot days, we get fire hydrants get opened around the city, drive demand. Last summer, we had an incident at the end of June before the swimming pools were opened up in New York City, and we hit some of the highest peak hourly demands we've had in 10, 15 years.
How about the Super Bowl flush?
You can address the Super Bowl flush, that's in your area. Adam?
We did an increase right after that.
With all the committees and all of the foundations and all the testing and all the regulations that exist amongst us, far greater than any of the other two major ones, why are you buying land in Delaware County?
That's a Paul question.
So the city, you can see what the original intent of the law and the regulation was controlling land by ownership or landowner agreements. We've purchased a lot of land in the watershed over time, as you know, as the map shows. What we're in the process of is tailoring that program down. And we announced that we would not pursue land in areas 3 and 4, which is a big change, and prioritize land purchase and protection closer to our terminal reservoir. So we've shifted our policy and our land acquisition over time and have reduced what we do. We still have a permit to buy land. We still have an active program, but we're in the process of pulling that back. Charlie, do you want to add anything to that?
You seem to be lagging behind compared to a lot of the other water districts throughout the nation.
What's that?
You seem to be lagging behind compared to a lot of the other water districts throughout the nation. They are not acquiring land the way New York City is.
We're lagging behind in that
In other words, you keep trying to keep buying.
No, I would disagree with that statement 100%. I think we've really changed course on that in a significant way. In a big way. Our commissioner in the last administration announced those changes. And it was responsive to concerns from Delaware County and looking at the science.
So Tim, I'd like to thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Again, I thought this was very informational, and you gave it to the board at CWC, and I think that especially for new supervisors, it's very helpful.
Well, I very much appreciate the invite. Hopefully, nobody was too bored and could follow my rapid fire delivery. Seriously, if there are any questions on anything New York City watershed related, Jason, myself, we're available at Catskill Watershed Corporation. Shelley, you've got a major resource sitting right in your front row every single meeting. But here and we work for you all because you are all the member towns and constituents of CWC. Thank you.
And Paul, again, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate working with you all these years. We wish you the best, and we will certainly miss you. So anytime you want to come back and visit and give a history lesson, you're always welcome to.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, moving on with our agenda. Are there any standing committee reports? Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. First resolution today, number 81.
I'd like to move resolution 81 to the floor and ask for its approval.
I'll second.
Thank you, thank you.
2025 budget amendment, receipt of aid to Discovery Funds, Office of the Public Defender.
Questions on this? Please call the roll.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Haffel,
Yes.
Kessel, Bukai,
Yes.
Wally,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Marshfield,
Yep.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ellis,
Yes.
Faulkner,
Yes.
Hinckley,
Yes.
Kosher,
Yes.
Layton,
Yes.
Seta,
Yes.
Malay.
Yes. Resolution number 82.
I'd like to bring this forward. A second.
2026 budget amendment, acceptance of O'Connor Foundation grant, public health services.
Questions on this resolution? Please call the roll.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Haffel,
Yes.
Kelso, Bukai,
Yes.
Wally,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Marshfield,
Yep.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ellis,
Yes.
Faulkner,
Yes.
Hinckley,
Yes.
Kosher,
Yes.
Layton,
Yes.
Seta,
Yes.
Malay.
Yes. Resolution number 83.
I bring this up, move for its adoption. Second.
Authorization for sole source procurement of the bioreactor for the compost facility, Department of Public Works.
Jim is here. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Haffel,
Yes.
Bukai,
Yes.
Wally,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Marshfield,
Yep.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ellis,
Yes.
Faulkner,
Yes.
Hinckley,
Yes.
Kosher,
Yes.
Layton,
Yes.
Seta,
Yes.
Malay.
Yes. Resolution number 84.
I'd like to bring this resolution and ask for its adoption.
Second.
Supporting submission of a Catskill Watershed Corporation Workforce Development Grant application and authorizing participation in the Building Engineering Workforce Summer Internship Program, Department of Planning.
Questions on this? This is a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I'd also bring this resolution up and ask for its adoption.
Second.
Public hearing on 8-year review of Agricultural District Number 14.
And this public hearing will be held Wednesday, June 24th at 1 o'clock here in this room at our next scheduled meeting. This is a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
I'd like to bring local law number 15 to the floor and ask for approval.
Resolution number 86.
Resolution 80,
Resolution number 86.
I'll bring resolution 86 to the floor and ask for its approval.
Second.
Public hearing, local law intro number 15 of 2026.
I'd like to iterate or remind folks that this salary is set by the state. And this is what is, what do I say, advised by the state as a salary for our DA.
So I understand that the DA's salary has to keep pace with the court judges and Supreme Court. Is any of that funded by the state? This wage?
Kara?
Kara, yeah. Sorry.
So, the state does not directly provide the county with funds for that, but I know that the DA's office does apply for grants, and I don't know if they're able to use some of that for salaries or anything.
What'd she say?
DA's office does apply for money towards that.
Grants.
Okay, so the public hearing on this will be at our next meeting, immediately following the first local law public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolution number 87.
Bring resolution 87 to the floor and ask for its adoption.
I'll second.
Approval of tentative agreement, sheriff's corrections officers.
I'd like to thank Kara for all the hard work that you put into this. Appreciate it. It's a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolution number 88.
Bring resolution 88 to the floor and ask for its approval.
Second.
Authorization for disposition of personal property no longer necessary for public use, Department of Buildings and Grounds.
This is also a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolution number 89.
Let's bring this to the floor and ask for its adoption. Second.
Resolution in support of congressional recognition of the Lawrence Welk Show as having a positive contribution to American culture during the 70th anniversary of the show's debut.
Questions?
Who
All-
came up with this resolution?
Shelley?
Forget it. Forget it.
This resolution actually was sent via an email request to the Board of Supervisors office, who forwarded it to me to research. I did contact this gentleman. He is a very ambitious person who genuinely believes Lawrence Welk Show has shaped the culture and history of Delaware County in a positive way, and that as a country, we need to get back to the basic morals that were taught during that show. His goal is to get as many resolutions of support from counties and cities and towns across the country, and he is pushing for congressional and Senate recognition of Lawrence Welk Show in Washington. This is all part of his push for that. It was just one of those very interesting requests sent to Delaware County from a guy in Florida.
Well said. This is another voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Do it again. That was good.
All right.
Thanks, George.
We have one not pre-filed resolution. I'll waive Rule 10 without objection. Resolution number 90.
Bring this up. Move for its adoption.
Second.
Gabriel?
Yes.
Heffel? Yes. Bukai?
Yes.
Wally?
Yes.
Smith? Marshfield? Driscoll?
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Scott. Ellis,
Yes.
Faulkner,
Yes.
Hinckley,
Yes.
Kosher,
Yes.
Layton,
Yes.
Seta,
Yes.
Malay.
Yes. Okay, the legislative committee needs to meet for just a few minutes in this back room. Right, immediately following this, and then after that, there'll be a fiscal sustainability subcommittee meeting here in this room. And I would also like to remind those supervisors that have not turned in your record of activity for retirement to please do so that we can prepare the resolution for next meeting. If you don't know who you are, then please ask Penny again.
I'll send out an email to remind you too.
Okay. Is there any other business that needs to be brought forward? If not, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you. I need to see.